Hello, everybody, and you know what we're doing today. Welcome to another episode of Grief Let's Talk About It podcast. And today we have another great episode coming for you, man. We have another amazing guest, and her name is Claire, man, and she has an amazing story. Today we're going to talk about her battle with depression, family, and finding her strength in the work that she does, man. And without further ado, I'm going to bring her on out here, man, and you guys sit back. Remember, leave us some comments, ask some questions as we go. And if you guys are tuning in, please do me a favor. Go to the YouTube channel, give us a subscribe, hit that bell notification, leave us a comment, and share it with somebody that can benefit from the conversations that we have. And as without further ado, I'm welcoming my guest, man. Claire,
Hello.
how you doing today?
I'm great. How are you, Tony?
Oh man, I'm excited. I'm excited. I've been looking forward to this since the last
Oh,
time that we talked. I told you we could talk forever, right?
yeah, forever.
Such an amazing conversation. Such an amazing conversation. So as here we are. And so before we step into the story, introduce yourself and tell people where you're from.
Sure. So I'm Claire. I'm from Cork, actually, in Ireland. Although I'm living a bit further west up in Limerick at the moment. So yeah, that's me. I'm a life coach as well. I love all these conversations, I think it's an honor today to share some of my story and speak again now here with Tony.
Oh man, it's you know what? I'm honored to have you here. And let's get into it.
Mm.
Tell people your journey. Tell people about the story and the life that you've been in, and
Yeah, yeah.
we'll go from there.
Yeah, well, like I love stories. I love to talk about, I feel like our life's journeys are the best stories that we can tell. It's where we can be most creative and
Yes.
really take some brave steps. So I like to think of I like to talk about my journey from when I was at a crossroads in my life, 8 years ago, when for me life was just not going in the direction that I wanted it to. I felt lost. I felt like I wasn't in control at all.
Hmm.
And I think up until that point, I always thought that I had the answers. And then it was at that stage I realized, you know what? I think I need some help. And for me, that was the first step. And I sought out coaching, and it had a really transforming effect. And from there, the first step that for me that I needed to take was I needed to quit alcohol. And I did that. And from there, like my life started changing, and it opened up a space within me to process things. Now, I suppose I'd lost my mother a few years, like when I was a teenager, when I was 13. So when I quit drinking, I think that was the first step where I was kind of opening myself up to healing, and processing the grief that I was going through. And it was difficult, but it was very, very empowering as well. Life started opening up to me in a whole new way,
Hmm.
and I developed a whole new self-compassion for myself and a whole new connection with myself and the world as well. And um, After, I suppose, a year after that, I started traveling as well on my own, and I started developing a sort of independence of myself, and started to really get to know myself as well, and learn about the resources that I had within me already,
Hmm.
that I hadn't seen before. And yeah. Then after another couple of years, I realized that I really just wanted to share some of this knowledge with other people about, the incredible resources we have within ourselves and the incredible things that we can do. So I went back to study coaching, and that's been a major passion in my life since. And recently, I've actually just launched my own business, and yeah, stepped away from kind of work that I had been doing, because I suppose I'm feeling ready myself now to get myself out there even more in the world.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Now you mentioned losing your mother when you were just a teenager, right?
Yeah.
Now, and we talked previously to this as well, and I just want to ask, what were some of the things, the challenges after losing your mother? We talked about depression, your mental health, and things like that,
Mm.
and how it affected you. Let's dive a little bit into that, and it's, I think it's interesting because I
Mm.
think there's a lot of people out there that can relate to those, to that journey right there,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
and the steps that you took. I mean, realizing that you needed help was one of them, right? I think
Major.
that's the biggest thing. Realizing that, hey, I'm not okay, right?
Yeah.
And you're
Yeah.
taking
Yeah.
those steps to develop those tools that's already inside of you. And like
Yeah.
most of us, right?
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
don't really know that we have them until we're put in a situation to actually explore them.
That's absolutely true. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So,
And like when I started traveling on my own, I found that I was putting myself in a situation where I had to develop certain things within myself,
right, right.
and it's only from having those opportunities that you can develop them. But I suppose going back to when I lost my mother, I know I mentioned that I feel like a lot of my journey started when I say quit alcohol, but I suppose that's obviously not true. There's a lot that I went through before that. And when I lost my mother, I was only like at the age of 13, you don't you're learning, you don't know what's happening,
Right, right.
you're still young in the world. And for me, what I didn't there's no handbook for this, right? You just go through it.
Yes.
And I thought I had everything together at that time. I didn't think there was any problem. I thought, I can deal with this. But it's only when I look back, I realized that that was how I felt at the time. But I didn't realize how essential, a mother is to a young girl, and having that guidance. And when I look back, I realize I lost like one of the main mentors that I had in my life, and I didn't know that at the time. And I was, I suppose, trying to figure things out in a way that really wasn't working for me, but I didn't know that at the time. And like in my experience, like my father had was obviously going through a lot at that time as well. And his plate was full. There was only so much I suppose he could do. But I did feel like there was an absence of that, like motherly mentorship that is really essential.
Right.
Um, and I suppose didn't understand that at the time until I was much older. And I suppose I had to almost seek out people later on in life to kind of learn things from, because
Hmm.
I kind of missed a gap back in my younger years.
Right.
So it's kind of like I had to self-parent a bit when I got a bit older, which you know, was upsetting to realize when I was older.
Well, yeah, because you're still a teenage young lady, right?
Mm.
And the person that was teaching you and guiding you, like you said, your mentor is no longer
Mm.
there,
Yeah,
and the emotional, I mean, because at the age of 13, you're still trying to process yourself, let
yeah,
alone your own emotions. So to have someone taken away from you that big, and then the father, he just lost his wife,
yeah, yeah.
right?
It's so neat.
So
Yeah,
yeah, and being a male, right? And I can only imagine him trying to keep himself together to keep you from falling apart, right? So that's a
mm,
whole lot of suppression. And then you're looking at your dad going, hey, like what's going on right now, right? And
yeah,
he
yeah,
really don't have any answers because he doesn't even understand it. And I like to
yeah.
say, I tell people this all the time. When men experience these things, especially the first one, and this is multiple ones, but when you experience your first one and lose something so close to you, uh, it's as if you've just entered unfamiliar territory,
Yeah,
right? And most men would get that, and a lot of people actually understand it when you put it that way. It's because we've never been taught that, and he's now become a single dad
yeah,
to a
yeah,
teenage girl that is
Yeah.
now encountering, the worst possible feeling imaginable, losing your mother. Because,
Yeah.
like most mothers, their daughters are their baby girls, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I can only imagine, that roller coaster ride. Um, so let's tap into that for a minute. The emotional roller coaster ride. Was there? I mean, you struggle with your mental health and things like that, and I'm sure at some point down the line, that's where the alcohol came into play,
Yeah. Yeah,
right?
for sure.
So the mental health aspect of that, the challenges.
Yeah.
What were some of the things that you experienced during that course?
Well, I suppose, like, yeah, being at the age I was, a 13-year-old girl, you're growing up, and I suppose I was starting to have thoughts and feelings that I didn't really know how to process.
Mm,
And, you go through this things in school and things like that, where you have new issues and stuff. And I suppose I didn't really know how to process a lot of that stuff.
right.
Um, and I suppose I didn't really feel like I had anyone to go to. And I suppose I was a very shy kind of person as well when I was young, and I suppose um, I fell into a kind of an addictive mindset, because I suppose when I found things like alcohol, everything seemed easier. It seemed like
Right.
I was able to deal with things, but I was deeply unhappy at the core of it. And um, I suppose I just kept thinking that the answer was going to come in the way I was operating.
Right. Yeah.
Right up until that point, I was at that crossroads, right up until then. It was up until then I kind of said, I actually don't know. I think I need to get a helping hand here. And I, and I genuinely felt like, I was, I, I think I always felt that, like, I was doing okay.
Yeah. We all
um,
do.
that I was going to find that dangling carrot at the end of the line.
Yeah.
Right up until I suppose I was able to kind of step out of myself and see, no, Claire, we don't have this. We need a second opinion here, or more guidance.
Yeah. Now,
Mm,
we also talked about the depression that you went through.
mm,
Um, explain a little bit of that to the audience, because a lot of people are out there struggling with depression right now and don't even know that they're doing it. They just probably think that they're tired all the time, or, they just don't want to be around anyone. And I've been trying to figure out a way to
yeah,
let
yeah,
them know, that, what you're going through is totally normal. Like, and this is what is called depression, right? What
yeah.
you're doing is that you're sleeping into a slump, because I've battled with depression as well, right?
Mm,
And I can only speak from the point of view of Tony.
yeah.
My depression got me down to a point to where life was heavy. The thoughts in my head was not good. They were normally dark, and um, for some odd reason, I I just didn't want to be around anyone.
Mm,
Right? People go, "Come on, Tony, let's go down." No, man, I'm good. I don't want to deal with that.
yeah.
I didn't. I think I was looking for an escape route in my depression. I was looking for a place where I can run and no one could find me. And I often
Mm,
tell people that too. I was like, my first thought was, when I experienced these things, was that I was going to disappear, go into the mountains and find myself a cave.
mm.
Maybe have to wrestle a bear or two, but I was okay with that. I was
Yeah,
definitely okay. We're sharing the cave now.
yeah.
Which is, but I was,
For
but
some reason, this feels safe.
I know the bear would have been thinking like, "Who is this guy?" We're like, "No, we sharing the cave. I may snuggle with you because you got on a fur coat, and it may get cold outside, so don't pay me no never mind." But no, man,
Yeah.
it was so deep embedded in my, I want to say, in the essence of who Tony was, and I
Mm,
lost myself on so many different levels, and that was the hardest part, because I didn't know I was losing myself. I mean, when we think about depression, I associate it with grief brain, right? With the
mm,
brain fog that comes in, because I don't remember anything that I did. I remember
mm,
I had a routine, right, in
mhm,
that stage, going to work, coming home, working
Mhm.
out, eating, laying down, watching TV, and go to sleep and get up and repeat, wash, rinse, repeat, right? And that was my depression. Like I was okay when I without being around anyone. I was okay being in the house. Um, I only came up when I needed to. That was for
Mhm.
work and when I had to go to the grocery store. Other than that, I didn't have to go to a gym.
Mhm.
So I had a gym in my garage. I didn't have to, I wasn't worried about people calling me because I rarely answer the phone anyway, right?
Yeah.
Um, but it led to some destructive things though.
Mm.
And so I guess my question to you, was yours similar to that or
In some ways, and I know, like, I think depression can emerge in different ways for everybody. For me, um, I was definitely in an avoidance, similar to yours.
right,
Yeah, like running away from myself. Because I lost so much connection to myself. I think what my experience was, first of all, with the alcohol, it was like, because I couldn't sit within my own company. For me, it was like, I was very uncomfortable when I couldn't even sit at home. I had to get
right,
out and I had to distract myself from my own brain. That was kind of what it was like for me, and that's why I would drink, and I felt like I was fitting in when I was doing that kind of thing. And um, in the times then that I was at home, I used to have patterns as well of trying to avoiding myself. Like, I would smoke and I would, do anything to kind of numb my brain, like, to anything to kind of get myself away from myself.
right,
And then sleeping as well. Like, I would sleep in. And when I look back on it, that's how I see it. I see that like I was kind of doing everything in my power to avoid my own soul, my own mind, my own thoughts. And, you know,
right,
it was kind of like almost to keep everything suppressed as well, grief and things like that. It was like I could sense almost there was a danger within myself I didn't want to go to. And that was kind of how I experienced it. And to come out of that was like I needed to go through it again, or I had to kind of refeel everything again to come out
yeah.
the other
Oof.
side.
Oh man.
Yeah. But it wasn't as bad as I subconsciously had myself to believe,
Right, right.
Yeah.
I think that's in a lot of cases as well. Um,
Mm.
I think, and it's individual as well. Some people
Yeah.
will experience it and um, hardly be phased by it or pretend that they're not phased by it. But there's some people that go through it and their whole life fell apart or falls
Mm.
apart. Unfortunately, I was one of those people. So, it was like I knew I had to go through something after
Mm.
after the multiple losses. I just did not expect the twists and the turns that it
Mm.
started handing me as I was going through these motions, and I was listening to a motivational, and in that motivational, the guy said you're going to have to grow through what you're going through, meaning that you're going to have to get some growing pains.
Mm.
You're going to have to step into this thing and walk with it, and then you're
Mm.
going to have to treat it as if it's your partner, right?
Yeah.
You have to
Mm.
develop some sort of relationship with it, and I think
Mm.
that's what over a period of time, um, my grief became not only my mentor, but it became as if this guiding light,
Mm. Yeah.
so to speak. It was what I stepped into, and I realized that whatever I was going through with it, I was going to have to step into it every part of the way and experience everything that was going on, even though I didn't understand it.
Mm.
Even
Yeah.
though I didn't understand it, right? Because I was never taught all those things, suppress, not express. That's what we teach. That's what most men are taught. So I was
Yeah.
like, I'm gonna fight it. But then I realized that I couldn't fight it. And then not only did I have that realization,
Mhm.
but then there was an aha moment when I had to ask myself, what am I fighting?
Mm. Yeah.
You
I
know,
agree. Yeah.
because it weighed heavy on my shoulders. And and that's just again just coming from my experience.
Yeah. And
So,
everyone's journey is different, and what I mentioned earlier as well, like, there's no handbook for any of this. And like, I
oh,
think that was, when I think about it, it's even, I think that was something I expected or something. And grief is anything but a handbook, because it's so unique to everybody. Everyone's experience
yeah.
is different. It's almost like a wave that you won't know until it's coming. Some
Hmm.
days are okay, some days are a bit hard, and you don't know until you're going along on that journey.
Right.
Um, which is, I suppose there's an element of trust needed in that, and that, we can take the good days and the bad days, and
That's true.
mm,
And I like that because there has to be an element of trust when you're going through these things.
yeah,
But developing the trust, right? I think that's where the trouble comes in because I didn't know what I was trusting,
yeah,
you know. And at that present point in time, I could barely trust myself.
yeah,
You know how we teach most kids, hey, when you go to school, you got to keep yourself safe and things like that. Or, like I couldn't even trust myself to do that. I was like, I'm not. Today. I'm not responsible for me.
mm,
I need someone else to be responsible for me because I'm bound to make some mistakes today. And, but I realized over as I went through the process of grieving, and learning how to cry, learning
mm,
how to accept and receive
mm,
my emotions on the level that they were at was
mm,
actually the stepping stones that I needed in order to, actually address the mental health aspect, address the depression, address the loneliness, and things like that. Now, it
mm,
didn't happen overnight, right? Because
yeah,
I had to take baby steps. It was like walking or riding a bike, and then you get off, but you get back on. It's like second nature after that, right? So
yeah,
this was like my first time riding a bike,
mhm,
and I
yeah,
don't know how to balance it, right? I don't know how to balance. And I'm going over and over in my head like that. I missed something. What else? What else is to this thing? And like most people, I just wanted it to be over.
yeah,
I
yeah,
really did. The lack of appetite, the insomnia, the endless nights of sleeping on the floor, just balled up in a little knot, just like ugh. You know, um, but it was the patience. I mean, we can talk about that too. It
mhm,
was the patience, it was the intimacy that it gave me, but not the sort of intimacy that one would receive from a partner.
yeah, I agree. Yeah,
Yeah, it was different. It was definitely different because it touched a part of me where I didn't know existed.
yeah, yeah. Because I suppose a major presence needs to be there with yourself,
Yeah,
um, in what's happening in every moment, really. What am I feeling right now? What
yeah,
do I need right now? And
that's a go.
um, yeah, 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 yeah. And like I've talked a bit about my journey as well, and like about my mother and things like. But I haven't even gotten to the stage of like say this year, but like I lost my father as well,
Oh,
um, last Christmas. Um, Now it's I'm very much going through grief still, and like I'll always be going through like that that loss. But I suppose it's interesting in that I mentioned I had to unsuppress the grief from my mother years ago,
mhm.
and now I have that knowledge, and I've had that knowledge since last December in order to kind of have to go through it again. And that's what I'm finding every day is a very, they say like when you lose somebody, it's day by day, and I think that's major, because every day I have to get up and say, okay, right, how am I feeling today? What do I need today? And like for me, just even asking the question, what do I need? Like, do I need something from somebody? Do I need support? Do I need to talk to somebody? And that was something I didn't do years ago, because it wasn't something I was comfortable with doing. It wasn't something I was used to doing.
Mhm.
But I suppose I've learned this time around that I'm not alone in it.
Yes, yes.
And it's major, and it's helping me deal with the uncomfortable feelings of loss,
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Now, when you realize that, does it make it, when you realize that, did it make it easier to get the support that you needed?
Mm,
Did it?
yeah. Yeah. No, like it can be uncomfortable at times, because sometimes it's something I'm, still learning to do in a way,
Right, right.
it's always a vulnerable act really to reach out, and it's every situation can be different,
Mhm.
so it's not like sometimes you don't feel like an expert at it. um
This
but
is
I
true.
suppose, yeah,
This is
but I
true.
suppose, yeah, it takes a lot of courage to do that.
I was going to say that too. It
Mhm.
definitely takes a lot of courage, because one thing that we've always understood, and if we haven't understood it, it's one of those. I'm going to put something out on the table, and again, you guys hear us say things like this. This is for educational purposes only. Okay,
Mhm.
so what we say are things that we have done ourselves. Not everything that we do may work for you, but
Mhm.
extract the information, extract the tools from it, use it however you see fit. But please don't try to mimic what someone else did,
Mm,
because what worked for them may not work for you. So just putting
absolutely.
that out there for you guys, okay? So one of the steps that I did is that I started I started going to a gym. Even though I had my gym in a garage, I started going to a more public gym to be around other people. Not to communicate or anything like that. I think it was just because I needed that connectiveness with them, just being around them, feeling that energy in a place where I was very familiar with, right? Because it was easier. For one, it was easier for me to put on a mask
Yeah, yeah.
and be able to walk around, right? Now, fast forwarding a little bit, when did the alcohol? See, I've struggled with alcoholism, and I know why I started drinking, and I can only imagine, dealing with the loss of your mom, dealing with the depression, the mental health issues that are factored into that. When did the alcohol come into play with you?
Um, it wouldn't have been very long afterwards, I'd say it was like when I was 13, I couldn't, yeah, it was in around then. Like at first it was like, it seemed fairly innocent, and that, you're a young teenager. There was a few of my friends, everyone was kind of at that experimental age. But I took to it too well, I remember that. I remember being like, oh, this is great, and I took to it too well, and it just developed, through my teens. Um, yeah, yeah, it just developed. Um, Always wanting more and kind of more. It
Uh,
was kind of yeah,
there's a
always wanting
great
more
way.
to reach
No,
the carrot at the end of the stick.
right, exactly, right. Because now at that point they're dangling it in front of you, saying, "Hey, you can have this," but every time you reach, it's still moving.
Yeah, yeah.
It's funny that you said that, because I was telling someone not too long ago. Um, when you're going through anything like recovery, or mental health challenges, um, or drug addiction, or anything like that, it's as if, like you said, that carrot is dangling in front of you, right?
Yeah.
But here was the analogy that I came up with. What if no one's holding the carrot and it's just strapped to your back?
Oh,
So the
yeah.
only, the more and more you try to reach for it, what I'm saying, it's going with you as you move.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah,
I
that
started
makes
thinking
sense.
about that. I was like,
Yeah,
man, that makes a lot of sense, because
it does.
you know
Yeah.
when 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 I went through all of that, it was like, hey, you know what? It's right there, but it seems like it was always just right there.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm never going to get that carrot.
Yeah. I mean, when I look back, where did the carrot come from, or the idea of the carrot? I think that
And
that came from me.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
I just
yeah,
knew that I wanted the pain to stop.
yeah.
think that was my
Good for you.
biggest thing,
Mm,
but I didn't start drinking like before I had my son.
mm,
Um, I just and when I didn't have custody of my son, I was drinking all the time. I was drinking all the time
yeah.
to escape reality, to escape the pain, to
Mm,
escape the nothingness that was just inside of me. It was just like,
mm,
bleh, I'm just here, right?
yeah. Yeah.
And I think I stopped wanting to feel that way. Like I'm just here. I'm just existing. And I think I got the bright idea of saying, no, no more just here or just existing. It's time for us to get up. It's
Yeah.
time
Get
for
up
us to
and
walk. Is like that old saying says, when you get up in
mm,
the morning, make your bed, because for if nothing else happens today
mm,
that you feel is good, at least
mm.
you got the first battle out the way.
Yeah. Yeah. That's true. That's true.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
just dawned on me when you said that. I was like, oh man, that makes perfect sense now, right? So, and being an alcoholic, because I call myself that because that's what I was, right?
Mm,
I haven't drinking in a very long time, but that's exactly what I was. I was a straight raging alcoholic.
mm.
And the crazy part about it is that no one knew.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I was functioning and everything else. I was like, oh shoot, all right, this is what we're
Yeah.
doing.
Yeah.
So
I remember actually a couple of people said to me actually when I stopped that, like, you don't have a drink problem, and things like that. And you seem fine and everything. And I remember thinking to myself, that, like, first of all, like, nobody can know what's going on for a person in their own, like, private
exactly,
life.
exactly.
But it was a problem for me, it was destroying my life. So for me, that was what I needed to know. I knew I was crumbling, and my life wasn't going right.
Right.
Yeah. And when I think about it as well, in the times that I was drinking, I was numbing the pain, and it was just to kind of push whatever uncomfortable feeling was within me. But sometimes, like, when I look back, I think I was actually searching for connection,
Hmm.
but I didn't realize that I was moving myself further and further away from it all the time. Um, and it wasn't until I stopped that I was able to find that again, or build the journey up towards that again.
And I can definitely understand that. But everything that you just said right there hit the nail on the head.
Mm,
I'm searching for a connection when you're going through those things because you want to surround yourself with people who have gone through those things so they can kind of like for me, the people that surround themselves with me, it wasn't very many,
mm,
but we all had something in common, right? We had all lost a child. So I used to
mm,
sit around and listen to their conversations like, holy crap, man, like really? And then I realized there was nothing wrong with me. I was grieving,
yeah,
right? But then I also found out that there was a way to honor that grief, right?
yeah,
There was a way to honor it. And
yeah.
I started doing some research and I started honoring my grief. And the darndest thing happened. It started for one, my grief started respecting me,
Oh, wow.
right? I know it sounds kind of cliche and things like that, but it did.
Mm,
It no longer catered to the anger or anything like that. My grief started sharing happy memories with me, saying, hey, it wasn't always like this,
yeah,
right? It wasn't
yeah,
always like this. So why are you down here and now? Look
yeah,
at this. And it's flipped everything around for me. And I was going, oh, whoa,
yeah,
that's what it's doing.
yeah.
Okay. And I
That's
embraced it.
cool.
Yeah, I embraced it. Now moving forward, you was battling alcoholism.
Sorry.
I said you was battling alcoholism.
Yeah, yeah. It was problem drinking. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. I couldn't
problem
stop.
drinking.
Like.
Yeah, I feel the same way. That's why I don't
Mm,
even tempt it now. Now I go, not even looking.
yeah, me too.
I'm like, no. So now you're battling that. You're seeking help, and when you were seeking help, was the resources really available for you?
Um, some I did have to find myself. Now that was from kind of developing, knowledge and inner knowledge and things, and kind of creating for myself. But yeah, in the help that I was getting, I was very lucky in that I found a good kind of therapy relationship,
Mhm.
and it was a really good experience. So the information that I needed was there when I needed it. And then as time went on, I suppose my knowledge started expanding, and then I did start seeking out more for myself and trying things out as well, and seeing what worked for me, and what didn't. Because it moved into a curiosity phase as well. Where I
Yes,
wanted to develop it even further. Because it's so eye opening.
it is. And I think
Mm,
that's truly amazing because it led you to do the work that you're doing today, correct?
exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
Now, explain the work that you're doing today and how it's impacting not only yourself,
Hmm.
but the people that are around you that see what you're going through and know the things that you've gone through. So let's dive into that.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. So, um, I chose the field of coaching, because coaching, I suppose, is a field that is similar to counseling, in that you you do go visit the past in order to resolve pain, and in order to let go and process things.
Mhm.
But it's also very future focused, and like looking at your life's journey and where it is you want to go, and finding ways through obstacles and things like that. And
Mhm.
that resonated a lot with me, because I suppose that's what my journey was like. I spent the time sitting with my pain and my past traumas, and things that I'd had to deal with. And
Right.
then once I was able to do that, when I was able to look at my journey that I was embarking and things that I wanted, I found that so exciting, and developing that inner resilience that I never had before.
Right.
I thought, wow, life is just this whole other thing that I ever could have imagined.
Exactly. And as that song says, it's a whole new world.
Yeah, exactly.
Y'all don't criticize me for my singing now, but it
Yeah,
really is though. It's a whole
it
new
is.
world, right?
No,
Because
the world. It is.
when
And
you
all of a sudden your senses come alive,
right,
and
right.
it's just beautiful. And like, to know that we hold the key ourselves, like, how
Yeah.
exciting is that? We don't need permission to live our lives, to do anything. So for me, like, it's just incredible. And like, I think that's a real gift. And I just, I just needed to do this with other people as well, because it's
Yeah.
just been such an eye-opening thing for me, such a passion. And I
Mhm.
really, really want to help others see that.
Right.
So in my work that I do, like, I'm working one-on-one with people. And I like working with people one-on-one. I find it a great experience. There's more vulnerable conversations, and I just love it. And I've specialized in, like, the area of life coaching, because I just enjoy talking with people about their journeys. I enjoy, um I have a strong awareness on the ups and the downs, and I do believe that's a part of life as well. And I do believe we can navigate in those things. And because I've put a lot of, I suppose, I've walked the talk on that. I know what it means to struggle. I know what it means to feel down in life, but I also know the great things that can happen as well. So that's what I do in my work. And the life coaching is the core of it. I do other work as well, like, personality assessments and things, because I also love self-awareness, because we've all got amazing qualities. So anything I can do to help other people see those things, I'm all about. So
See,
that's
I
kind
love
of,
that, man. You sound like me when I was a personal trainer.
yeah.
Yeah, oh yeah, because before anything ever happened, I started my own personal training company. That was
Mm,
doing really well for quite some time.
yeah.
Um, when my son passed away, I didn't have the heart to do it anymore. Right? I
Mm,
really didn't. It was like, no, I don't want to do this anymore. And then
mm,
I had to ask myself why, and it was the most silliest thing. I didn't want to do it anymore because the clients that I had children.
oh,
And I think it hurt me so much that as much, and most of my clients that I used to have, I knew their kids.
Mm,
You know,
mm,
they were at my son's tribute, and I didn't even know that they knew him, but apparently
mm,
they did. And so one nice little circle going around there. But in my mind was, you know, when they used to invite me over, shortly after that traumatic experience, I used to always decline.
mm.
I don't want to do that, right?
And isn't
And
that where like self-compassion needs to come in? You know, that's where you
right,
need to say, right, this is difficult, you know?
well,
Mm,
I didn't know what self compassion was.
mm,
You know, I mean, now, you know, speaking from my point, I didn't even know what self compassion was. I didn't know that it was okay to have mercy on yourself. I didn't
mm,
know that it was okay to not be okay. You know, I
mm,
was always taught, hey, you got to keep your head up and you got to keep moving,
mm.
right? Then you realize that the things that you've been taught was a whole bunch of crap.
Yeah, that's
You
another
know,
eye-opening
yeah, it's
experience.
an eye opener, right? Like, hold on, man, why am I listening to you? Look at no, I ain't listening to you no more, right?
Yeah.
But that is truly that is truly amazing. So
Mm.
now, and you got the help that you needed.
Yeah.
What was, you know, um, what were some of the places that you looked for help and support?
Um, so like when it was kind of another part of the journey ever since I kind of reached my crossroads. When I made like the changes in my life, that also kind of for me was a big kind of disabling experience, and I had to kind of
Mhm.
look at who I could talk to, you know, while I was going through those changes. And there was a bit of trial and error in that, you know.
Yeah.
When I quit drinking, I started discovering that you know, some people I hung out with, you know, we didn't really have much in common, like outside of drink and things like that. And, you know, I suppose um some friendships that I had, like, you know, I needed to, you know, relook at and things like that. But I have a strong trust network, and like when I did discover, you know, who I could trust and things like that, I know who to go to. I know who's kind of like an expert in some areas, and you know, some
Right.
people are good for practical advice, some people are good for emotional advice, and I suppose that has been trial and error to figure out. But I just go for it now, you know. I take
Oh, you
chances.
do.
Yeah.
Yeah, I take chances. I feel like taking chances. I feel like I'm gonna have to
Yeah.
talk to you first.
Yeah.
When it comes down
No.
to somebody talking to me about what's going, I need to talk to you first.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
What's your
And
experience?
it's an intuitive experience as well. I
It
mean,
really is.
yeah, like I mean, yeah, it's taking chances. But you know, when I lost my father this year, you know, I ended up finding I ended up having the support and falling in love, you know, and whole new relationship, you know, came from that.
Right.
And that was intuitive, you know, that was I was being completely present. I felt the love that was around, and I knew, you know, where would be good for me to seek out the help that I've been needing, you know, and it's been amazing, you know.
See, that is truly amazing. And I
Yeah,
love that right there. I definitely love that right there. And
yeah.
so I guess my next question would be, um, what's the next steps for you? You know, moving forward.
Yeah.
You've already experienced all of these things, right? And you got your business is pretty successful. Have you written a book yet?
Writing is something I love. I've a draft of something written up, but there's a lot more work needing to go into that.
Uh,
So that's a work in progress. That's something I'll probably be focusing on. With my work is still actually relatively new as well. Like, you know, so I'm still kind of,
kind of
you
filling
know,
everything out.
yeah, exactly. You know, yeah, it's like you know, I think with coaching, there's always areas that you can develop in. There's, you
Yeah.
know, the people that I work with as well, you know, are going to be different every time and things like that. So for me right now, it's kind of more about being open, you know, and
Mm.
you know, yeah, focusing on things like my writing, my work, and hopefully a few trips as well. But it's a calm time for me at the moment, other than all those
Right.
things.
But you got
Yeah,
to enjoy each moment, and you know, as you're starting to grow and develop, and
yeah,
you know, allow yourself to experience the world of having a business and doing the thing that you enjoy doing. And so,
Yeah.
like that's totally understandable.
Mm,
Which leads me into my next segue. I often ask my guests as we begin to wrap this up,
yeah.
if you had any words of encouragement for anyone out there that has gone through something similar to yourself, what would you give them?
That's a big question. I suppose I'll keep it simple. Like, I mean, going through grief, I suppose it's just to say, like, it's okay, everything you're feeling is okay, and there's so much space for that, honor it. Um and you'll you can grow from this, you can,
Mhm.
you'll evolve through this, allow it in, and you can grow. And for me, coming out of it meant taking grief with me. And for me, it was like, my mother, when she passed away, it did give me the knowledge that life is too short.
Mhm.
And for me, I wanted to be a legacy for her and be the best version of myself that I can be. So for me, my journey is also me being completely present with my grief and kind of taking her with me and taking my father with me.
Okay,
So
I like that.
yeah, there's not one statement there for you. There's kind of a story. But
No, I definitely like that because if you can extract the information out of there and being able to apply it to yourself,
Mhm.
there's a symbolic universal likeness to it.
Yeah, I think so. I
you
think
know
so.
and I think if a person, male or female, or child, if they can take what you just said right there, I
Yeah.
think they can, it would be very, very beneficial for them, because that's universal.
Yeah,
That's pretty much
absolutely.
universal. And
It
I
is.
love that you just said that. I really do, man. Wow.
Mm,
Wow.
yeah.
Okay. Well, my next question is, how can people find you?
How can people find me? I can share my links.
Uh-huh.
um, my website is clairewalshcoaching.com.
Hmm.
Um, my Instagram is also Claire Walsh Coaching. And I think my Facebook is that too. So I can share links.
Yeah.
That works.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
I would love it
I'll
if
put links
anyone.
down in the comment section. So if anybody's watching, or if they tune in later on, they know how to get a hold of you. So go
Great.
ahead, put your links down in the comments right there.
Yeah,
And
lovely.
for anybody who's watching today, I want to say thank you guys for tuning in to another episode of Grief Let's Talk About It podcast with another amazing guest. And if you can relate to what Claire has gone through in her life, battling with mental health, depression, you know, reach out to her. You
Yeah.
know, she's an amazing person with an amazing journey, and her knowledge about these things we she can go pretty deep on it. We had a conversation prior to this, and I'm telling you, she never ceases to amaze me whenever I talk to her. So such an amazing person.
Oh, thank you, Tony.
Of course, of course. So,
Oh,
and now with that being said, if you guys have followed all the way to the end, as always, hit that subscribe button, hit that bell notification, leave a comment, share it with somebody that could benefit from these conversations that we be having. And as always, thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you for allowing us to keep bringing these conversations to us. Thank you for their continued support and the love. And we just hope that we can keep doing it for you. And with that
yeah.
being said, I am Tony Lynch. I'm your host. You guys have a great day. Peace.
Thanks, everyone.